At Sygnum, we're proud to partner a true pioneer in the art investment business, Artemundi, and I'm glad to be here with Artemundi CEO, Javier Lumbreras.
Hi, Don.
So let's start by telling us about Artemundi and its unique mission.
Artemundi started in 1989 with what we thought, and still is, a rebellious idea. The paradigm was buy what you like and don't mind the price. And I thought that was really not the way things work. If you buy an artwork for a multi-million dollar painting, you want to make sure that what you're buying is worth what it's supposed to be worth. So we're not about selling art. We've always been about the passion, the collecting, the ownership. We've never been in the business of making consignments and making sales. We're not interested in that old concept, which also is associated with the brick and mortar business and carries very high entry fees and very high entry barriers for any art collector. So we always try to find a way to make this easy for the art collector and to make it really passionate.
Yeah. So
a passionate investment.
Let's talk about Picasso then. Picasso was certainly one of the most influential artists of the 20th century. Most people have heard of him, but could you talk about what actually makes him still truly great and famous today?
He was definitely an innovator, and he was constantly innovating. And I think that's what makes him so unique, because there are many artists that can paint very well, but the difference between an artist and a painter is actually huge, and it's based on innovation. Picasso said that some works of art can be just an accident of nature. Basically, it can happen. But he mostly believed that he had to persevere in the search of the masterpiece. I know a story that I hear from his son, and actually, whether this is true or not, but it's been argued. And whether it's true or not, I still believe that it's a very, very good story to talk about his character. Yeah. He went to a studio where he saw a conservator restoring a painting by Courbet, no? And he said to the conservator, "Why are you relining this piece?" He said, "Because it's a masterpiece, it needs to be preserved for posterity." So before he painted the Guernica, he had the painting relined, because he knew he was going to produce a masterpiece. So, that was Picasso. We really know him because of his masterpieces. And every time you sit in front of one, there's nothing else to say. You just go, wow, and that's it.
Maybe then talk us about the art security token that we're tokenizing here, Fillette or béret.
Great artworks are universal. They're transboundary. They're not national or international. They're just universal. So we thought, first of all, Picasso is probably the most influential and greatest artist of the 20th century, and probably of all times in terms of influence. And definitely Fillette or béret is one painting that I find is very close to him. It's very close to his heart. We also learned through experience that there are certain sizes and types of works that are more attractive, and they have more of this universal appeal. And we thought this was a perfect painting.
So many would say that the art business is ripe for disruption. So maybe, can you please talk about the status quo, and what do you think stands in the way of fundamental industry change?
I think the art business is being corrupted since it was basically invented. The Count of Arundel, he lived in the 1600s, was an ambassador for the King Charles I. And the king had him, not just him, but other people, but he was one of them. He was an ambassador to the British Crown, and he lived in many other countries. He traveled frequently to Italy, and he was buying artworks for the king. As you know, later on, the king, he was decapitated for other reasons, but we still have to thank him for the great collection that today is in the British museums. But what's very interesting about this is that even Arundel, he was making all these purchases and keeping some of the best works for himself. So he's also considered one of the best collectors in history and one of the first collectors, but the market was already very murky, and there was no transparency whatsoever, and he was, in a sense, very corrupted since day one.
So, riffing off the point about being open, there's a movement globally now to make the art business more transparent and more open. You've had yourself 30 years of experience in the art investment business. What do you think is the biggest difference to the traditional experience and the kind of the tech-driven tokenization that we're doing together?
What's totally different is in terms of, I would say, one is in terms of transparency. Another one so important is also in the terms of barriers of entry. In terms of transparency, with the token, you are going to know exactly who, through blockchain technology, you're going to know exactly about what we call in the art business provenance. Provenance is one of the most important things that comes along with the painting, and that provenance needs to be verified. In the case of our painting, the provenance is being verified since Picasso's studio to Louis Leiris, from Louis Leiris to Byler, from Byler to Borlo in California, from Borlo to Newman in Sweden, from Newman to us. And we have every exhibition and every catalog where the paintings have ever been published. So this established a line of ownership. And now that is in the blockchain, this line of ownership is always going to be there. Nobody can hide that where this painting came from or how much was paid for this painting. From now on, everything is open books. Yeah. One of the barriers of entry is always been price, connoisseurship, because you also need a high level of connoisseurship in order to understand and to be able to buy an important artwork. But you also needed a lot of money. It's not something you're gonna put $4 million into something, or 4 million euros or 4 million francs, and you don't need to know about it. You need to know a lot about it. And most people don't actually have this opportunity, because how many people have $4 million in cash laying around? So through this ownership, like I said at the beginning, we were very passionate about the ownership. I think it's one of the ownership, in fact, is one of the closest relationships that any human being can have with an object. So this, through the tokenization, now we can fraction the value of this Picasso in 1,000 tokens. It's 4,000 tokens, and you can actually directly own this Picasso without an intermediary or not through a debt structure, and you can own it with other people. And you now, for the first time ever, you're going to have the chance to own a Picasso. More or less, it doesn't matter. You own it.
So zooming back about the investment case, I mean, why should people invest in art in general?
It is a very big topic, and it's a topic that I've been studying, reading, analyzing, really using a lot of econometrics to try to explain to people why art is a good investment. I think we all see it in the news, these record-breaking paintings, 450 million, so many up north of 100 million, ever since Dr. Gadget sold for 82.5 million in 1990. We've seen records being beaten time and time again. There's never going to be a time where Picasso is going to be worth zero. But we saw Lehman Brothers being worth zero. There's never been a time where Leonardo, already several centuries into business, into the art business, is going to be worth zero. And it has only appreciated over time. I really don't think I'm almost sick and tired of talking about art being a great asset, because it is. It's obvious, you know. We've always had the academia and certain groups, and especially the gatekeepers, trying to tell you, buy what you like and don't mind the price. You know, that sentence that really drives me crazy, because it's false. And today I'm much more interested on structuring the product, so that more people can access to it, more people can enjoy the ownership of a Picasso, while they're preserving wealth and patrimony, and even, you know, legacy for the children, and they're making a good investment. And like I always say, you know, I had a friend once ask me, "What do you do for a living?" I say, "I have paintings." "What do you mean?" "Yeah, the paintings are working for me." That's exactly what I do for a living.
Talking about our tokenization solution here, what do you think the impact of this technology will be on the art business, say, in 5 or 10 years' time? And specifically, what parts of the business do you think will endure, will stay? And what parts do you think will be unrecognizable?
I think there's going to be art for consumers, for consumerism, art as a product. I think there's going to be fine art. For cultural, emotional, aesthetic philosophical reasons. One, it's just going to be something for trade, and anybody can open a gallery. You just need a wall, a hammer, and a nail. And you can open an art gallery. It's not regulated. It's not regulated anywhere across the art market.
So Javier, what do you think the impact of tokenization will be for the art business, say in 5 or 10 years' time?
I think there's going to be art for consumer, mostly contemporary art. Everything that can be produced can be bought through whatever the way. It can be the old way of doing business or the new way of doing business. Then there's going to be, it's always going to be very speculative. We need to understand we don't tokenize artworks that are not masterpieces. I mean, it has to be, they must have withhold the test of time. Then there's going to be art for investment. There's going to be the masterpieces that will be tokenized, and I think this is here to stay. And then finally, there's going to be the old-fashioned way of doing business in art, which is what makes art art, which is going to be the artist creating great art, that great art being picked by institutions, being recognized by the curators, being recognized by the museum directors, having a very long trajectory, withstand the test of time until they become the masters of the future. And I'm hoping there's going to be a lot less interference, because it's really frustrating. A lot less interference on people speculating with artists' young careers. You take an artist from $50,000, make it $500,000, and make it $5 million. That artist, I guarantee you, is not worth $5 million. It's worth maybe $50,000. So this is a very nice way of people that want to invest $50,000 or $5,000 in art just for investment, purely for investment, and just to know that the ownership is theirs. This is the perfect formula. You don't need to go and speculate on a very expensive, inflated artist. Yeah. You can just buy the master. And I think that's a huge difference for anybody that wants to buy and invest in art. You know, you don't need to speculate. You can just go for golden.
So Javier, there's a number of companies doing tokenization. So what made you partner with Sygnum Bank?
Well, there was a very strong affinity. We're both pioneer in the tokenization field, in each one of our respective fields. And I also think it's mostly about trust. Trust in the people, trust in the bank, trust in the system, the regulated system. I think no one can beat that.
So Javier, tell us, what are you going to be tokenizing next?
We've been having a lot of discussions. We're definitely going to continue with masters of the 20th century, perhaps even 19th century. It could be an impressionist painting, the next one. It could also be another Picasso. But we have various options, and there's definitely several paintings in the pipeline. Yeah. Let's see how well the people are reacting to this. So
if Pablo was here today attending our event, what do you think he would make of tokenizing his painting?
First of all, I think he would want to be the first one to be tokenized. So I think he should be giving us a big round of applause, right? Yeah. He would be very proud. Second, I think he would definitely make something very special out of this moment. I think he will come up with some brilliant idea that will just leave us all, again, with our mouths open and thinking, why didn't I think of that first? Mm-hmm. He will definitely think of something we never thought before.
So, Javier, thank you very much for your time for coming to the event. And as always, it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Likewise. Thank you, Tom.